Welcome to A Shock in the Dark, an audio journal of a haunting. This is episode 4.
Hello, whoever you are. Today is Tuesday, April 13th. It is 9:43 p.m. And, just keeping this diary going. Near the last part of the last month, March 2021, I was asleep when something woke me up about 3 o'clock in the morning, and then I realized I was hearing the hooves again, the hoof beats, the hooves that I heard when I was a kid. And that's why I started making these recordings, because, you know, either this is the diary of a serious haunting or it's the diary of somebody going through a mental break. But I figured in either case, it will be an interesting journey, and it may help somebody who's going through the same thing, whatever I'm going through. So, the reason I'm making these recordings, in one word, hoof beats. The hooves I heard at the end of last month. That's the spark. And I know I've told you about some of the stuff that happened when I was a kid, but I also have to tell you the complete story of last month. I've said it a lot of times, I don't know what to make of all this. I'm probably the worst judge of, am I going nuts or is something truly spooky happening to me? I mean, who knows that they're going nuts, right? So I have to give you all the information, because this is for you to decide. So sometime around March 12th, I think. It could be a week earlier. It could be a week later. I know it was on a Friday. But sometime around March 12th, my friend Kevin and I had just come back from a socially distanced dinner, just to, catch up with each other and stuff. And afterwards, Kevin gave me a ride back to my apartment here. On the way, he had to pick up his comic books. And yeah, he is a grown man, but he needs to pick up his comic books. So it was about 8 o'clock or something. Definitely dark by the time we made it back to my apartment. And he was just going to drop me off, but he decided he was going to come in and use the... He always says use the laboratory before he gets, stuck in LA traffic again. So we got into the apartment, and I sat on the couch in the living room, and he went down to the hall to the bathroom. And when he came back to the living room, he had this weird kind of smug smile, and he kind of half whispered, "So, who's the girl?" And I said, "What girl?" And he said, the one watching TV in your bedroom?" Basically, as Kevin had walked to the bathroom, he looked in the bedroom, because the door to my bedroom is at the end of the hall, so he would just be naturally facing it as he walked to the bathroom. He couldn't help but notice, apparently, there was a girl with long hair sitting in my dimly lit bedroom, and from his position in the hallway, he could only see her profile. And even though all the lights were off in the bedroom, Kevin explained he could easily see her as she was bathed in the light of the television set she was watching. That blue light that shines, it lights up a room when just a television is on. But, as I told Kevin, there was a huge problem with what he had seen. I said, "Kevin, first of all, nobody's here. There's not a girl here. And not only is nobody here, but there's not a TV in my bedroom." Kevin's face turned white, and I could see he was swallowing a lump in his throat. But the more interesting thing is I could see him running through all the stages of grief in his mind, all within a split second. But eventually, I guess he landed on the denial phase. So I had to show him, go in the room, turn on the light, look, no TV, no girl. And Kevin just freaked out. He lost his mind. He could not believe it. I mean, he knew for sure he had seen a girl in that room. And now that he thinks of it, he didn't see a television, but just saw her, because of the light coming from the TV, an eerie blue light. So, yeah, he was freaked out. He knew I wasn't playing some kind of joke on him, or it wasn't some kind of elaborate prank. I mean, that would be the biggest setup for the weirdest, lamest prank ever. So, oh my God, you know what? This is going to come full circle now. Wow. Okay, you ready for this? I just thought of this. Remember my first recording, what I said my parents told me when I came to them about the shadow people in my room? I said, I know they were trying to help, but they told me it was all my imagination. And that made me feel really alone with this problem. Well, guess what I did to Kevin? Yep. I said it's probably just stress from work. I played it off like it was no big deal. I told him, it's probably your imagination. But I could tell Kevin was really nervous about this, and he left pretty quickly after that. And honestly, what's Kevin got to worry about? He's going back to his house. I'm the one that has to stay here. So that made me nervous. I was pretty tense all night, couldn't sleep. And when I finally did sleep, I woke up after only a few minutes. There was good news, though. Nothing else happened that night. A couple of other weird things happened, but I didn't pay much attention to it at the time. And I'd almost really forgotten about the girl watching TV incident when the big thing happened a couple of nights later. Yeah, the hooves. And I guess I should explain that to the best of my ability as well. It was probably about 11 o'clock. It was definitely Sunday night. I was in bed, almost asleep, when I heard a sound coming from the living room. And I couldn't quite place what it was at first. Knocking, tapping, but then it hit me like a 10-ton heavy thing. It was hooves. It's funny, but I actually laughed when I realized that it sounded like the hooves that I heard when I was a kid. But that was pretty short-lived, because a quick second later I was thinking, why are horses walking around Hollywood at 3 o'clock in the morning? And then I realized that sound's not coming from outside. That's the living room. My head, when I'm laying down in bed, is next to an open window, which basically allows me to hear what's happening in the front or back of the building that I live in. And I just, realizing what I was hearing, I just got that shock to the system feeling, like when I feel like your blood's turned to ice. And, man, for the first time in many, many, many years, decades, every muscle in my body contracted at once to where I was just super rigid and just dumbstruck with this powerful fear. I had the lump in my throat that I couldn't swallow, and it felt like my heart was like pumping really hard, but the blood wasn't going anywhere, if that makes any sense. All that combined with adrenaline and this crazy intense ringing in my ears, which I think was coming from all my muscles being so tense. all of that was going on as it dawned on me that these were in fact not the hooves I heard as a child. This sound of the clip-clop of a horse had morphed, and now whatever was making the sound of hooves in my living room was walking, like walking on two legs. So, hooved creature standing upright, walking around in the living room at night. Yep, that doesn't sound like anything bad. Then I noticed another more subtle sound, barely audible, just underneath the clopping of the hooves on the hardwood floor, and the occasional, sound of papers falling to the floor, or a piece of furniture getting bumped. Just barely there, I noticed there was this very, very low, deep growl. Just occasionally. So, let me just try to explain one thing for a second here. Just bear with me. A long time ago, years and years ago, I had gone skydiving. And I guess from watching it on television or something, I thought that skydiving would be like flying. But it was not. It was like falling. The circumstance of, going out of a door of an airplane that's high in the sky and falling towards the earth completely scrambled my brain for a good 20-30 seconds or so. That is exactly how I felt that night listening to the hooves walking around in my living room. My brain was completely scrambled. Like, there was not a single thought in my head. It was just some sort of primal thing where you don't even know where you are, what's happening. You're just freaked out. Basically, I think it's your brain wrestling itself, caught between fear, extreme fear, disbelief, being in shock, being in denial. I mean, it was pretty unbearable. For one thing, I thought I really might have a heart attack. And then I was sure that I must be having a stroke. But the sound did eventually go away. I don't know, it seemed like forever, but I'm sure it was only a few minutes. The next day I woke up and, barely awake, stumbled into the living room, and sure enough, stack of papers on my desk, now on the floor. And my coffee table was, 3 or 4 inches out of place. The little marks on the carpet where you can see where the legs go. And another weird thing, and again, maybe related, maybe not, but there are these little clumps of dry mud in various spots on the floor, and some of them had what I would call, hay or straw, little pieces of hay or straw in it. But I have no idea. I mean, this is why I'm recording this. Obviously, I survived the night, but honestly, I'm not sure if this is over or not, or if there's something horrible yet to come. And this morning I started thinking about some other things that happened recently, and there have been some extremely strange, weird things that have happened. And every time I think of one weird thing, I think of another weird thing. And are all these things related? I don't know. Is there something really going on? Or am I nuts? I don't know. But if I'm going to record details of any of these things, I figure I need to record details of all of these things. They may or may not be related, but, I'd rather have the information on here than miss out on some information. I don't want to try to second guess myself. I want you to have all the information so you can decide. I mean, whoever you are. And, it may very well be the case that I heard something that kind of sounded like hooves, and I freaked out, and now I'm making connections to things where there aren't any connections. But no matter what's going on, I have to admit, I struggled with this. I did not want to record all of these things. And a little piece of me felt like talking about the hooves and all the crazy, creepy stuff that happened to me when I was a kid. It might bring it back, or, somehow give it life. Like, talking about it makes it real, if that makes any sense. And I truly believe that one of the real possibilities here is that I'm just plain old going insane. And just to put all the cards on the table, I don't drink, I don't do drugs of any kind, but I have dealt with my own mental health issues. Nothing crazy. Well, sorry, don't mean to use that word. Nothing insane. What am I? Nothing too bad. I never saw or heard anything that actually wasn't there, as far as I know. But basically, any mental issue I've ever dealt with has been depression. And lots of people suffer from depression. And as far as I know, that doesn't make any of them hallucinate or hear things that aren't there. Maybe it's because I'm nervous, but I'm really sorry to jump around like this. I'm thinking of a million things at once. I'll try not to do so many time jumps. You know what I'll do? I promise. I'm holding my right hand up. I promise I will be better organized and actually write down some notes next time I record. Okay? I will have to jump around a little bit because I need to fill you in on some gaps from when I was a kid, and then all the deeply weird stuff that's happened lately. But don't worry, it'll be the short version, and it will be well organized. I'll use notes to move things along. I just need you to completely understand where I'm coming from, so you don't automatically chalk me up as one of those crazy abduction, UFO, alien, ghost, Sasquatch people, I'm definitely not that person. And it doesn't feel like I'm going insane either. There's no other symptoms that I'm going insane. But the next time I record, we'll put the rocket boosters on and just run through a couple of more things when I was a kid, including proof that shadow people are real, and the creepy stuff here in the apartment. Sorry, this recording's been full of fluff. I'm gonna fix it, but you should know I'm committed to continue these recordings until all this dies down, or I'm in the loony bin, or I've discovered a reasonable, practical solution that explains everything, or I'm forced to accept that this world is a weirder place than I ever imagined. So I'm gonna go get some sleep before work tomorrow. I'm gonna call it a night. So got my second COVID shot coming up on Thursday. I'm gonna get a lot of work done because I'm hearing some people get sick from the second shot. So anyway, for now, good night, whoever you are, and you appreciate you listening to this.
You've been listening to A Shock in the Dark, an audio journal of a haunting. For a free subscription to this series, push the subscribe button. To get an alert when the next episode posts, push the bell notification symbol. Post your questions or comments to the narrator in the comments section below. To contribute your recorded or personal story for this series, send it in an email to aSHOCKintheDARK@gmail.com. Until next time, as our narrator says, good night, whoever you are.